The image of the fragile woman was the beauty standard of the 19th century. It all began with the widespread of the disease tuberculosis, which is basically a bacterial infection which affects the lungs. In the 19th century, the disease was commonly known as the consumption, because it literally consumed the body of the victims. They would be sick for years, getting slowly weaker week by week. Or in other words, they got fragile. 50% of the victims died with this disease. Others could survive, but lived with it their whole life, because it was not curable until 1944. The symptoms included coughing up blood, extreme weight loss, sunken cheeks, and pale, almost translucent skin. Thousands of sanitariums were built worldwide. Here the victims laid down in bed, outside, in the sun. Also in the winter time, they laid outside most of the day with blankets on. Loud talking and visits were often forbidden. Many lived months or years in those sanitariums and suffered from loneliness. The victims often had a persistent cough that gave their lips and cheeks a rosy flush. This strong contrast between paleness and redness was seen as strangely beautiful. Beyond the physical symptoms, it was told that those infected with consumption had an aura of melancholy and fragility. In an era when women were admired for their gentleness and modesty, this combination became the embodiment of the feminine beauty. Their weakness was seen as feminine and got romanticized in many artworks. The painters of the 19th century used models with this weak consumption look for their paintings. Tuberculosis became linked to ideas of purity and even genius. Many famous poets, artists, and writers of the era fueled its romantic image. Also because many men lost their wives due to this disease. Pale skin and a slender figure became highly desirable. It wasn't just about physical appearance. It symbolized moral and emotional purity, and a need for protection. I guess this fragility seemed to awaken the masculine urge to protect, making it an desirable trait for women at the time. Even furniture reflected this obsession. Fainting couches became a staple of Victorian homes. Not every woman was unlucky enough to get infected with tuberculosis, but the romanticization of fragility and illness meant that looking strong and healthy was often seen as unfeminine. To achieve the ideal of looking like a fragile woman, many turned to dangerous beauty practices. One of the most infamous was the use of arsenic wafers. In the 19th century, arsenic was widely available in various forms. While its poisonous qualities were already well known at the time, small amounts of arsenic were believed to have cosmetic benefits. Arsenic wafers, which are tiny biscuit-like tablets infused with trace amounts of the poison, were advertised as a miracle beauty product. They promised to give women an ethereal, pale complexion by purifying the blood and lightening the skin. Advertisements assured buyers that the wafers were safe. The ads even claimed the wafers could cure freckles, blemishes, and redness. Also, a lot of men bought it. What the ads didn't mention was the negative effects that arsenic took on the body. Small doses might not cause immediate harm, but arsenic builds up in the body over time. Mild symptoms were nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, and severe abdominal pain. And internally, arsenic caused organ damage, particularly to the liver and kidneys. But what made them even more dangerous was the effect on the body's blood. Arsenic poisoning disrupts the production of red blood cells and the ability to carry oxygen throughout the body. Over time, this leads to anemia, a condition where the body doesn't have enough healthy red blood cells to function properly. So, people who consume these wafers often experience chronic fatigue, dizziness, and shortness of breath. Basically, the symptoms of tuberculosis. The lack of oxygen caused the skin to become even more pale, sometimes ghostly pale. But there were other harmful methods, not just the arsenic wafers. A popular one was the use of lead-based face powders. These powders, made with toxic white lead, were applied to achieve a ghostly pale complexion. White lead is a toxin causing neurological damage over time. Another method involved drinking a lot of vinegar to lighten the skin, but don't try this at home. This beautiful but unbelievable pale woman, known as Madame X, is a perfect example for the use of arsenic wafers and the effect it had on the skin. John Singer Sargent painted this image of Virginie Amélie Avignon-Gautran in 1884. She transformed herself into the it girl of her time. Her beauty was her passport to the high society of Paris, where she had also gained a lot of attention. She's a perfect example of how pale the skin would look like of those who used arsenic wafers. Additionally, she applied fine rice flour to perfect her look with a matte finish. This painting got famous, by the way, because it was highly provocative at that time. In the original painting, one of her straps hang off the shoulder, which caused a big scandal, which even caused the painter to leave Paris. But that is a different story. Madame X was 56 years old when she died. Even Queen Victoria was a user of those arsenic wafers to lighten up her skin. And the famous mathematician Ada Lovelace as well. After many deaths, including reports of over 200 cases, arsenic wafers became illegal in the early 1900s. The last package of them was sold in 1910. I hope you liked my first long-form video here on YouTube, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye!